I walked into our apartment with a small bouquet and a takeout bag, ready to surprise her after her long shift. I wasn't supposed to be home for another 2 days. I thought I was doing something sweet. Instead, I found her on the couch, half naked, laughing, straddling a man who reeked of sewage and wore a sanitation uniform. She saw me. She didn't even stop. That was the moment everything inside me snapped. We'd been together for years, living together for 2. I paid most of the rent because her hours at the salon were unpredictable. I didn't mind. I loved her. I believed in us. That belief shattered on a Tuesday at 7:43 p.m. I was supposed to be out of town for work, 3 days in Tampa. But the client canceled last minute, so I decided to head home, pick up her favorite stir-fry, and surprise her. I didn't even call ahead. Thought it'd be more romantic that way. The second I opened the door, the smell hit me. Not just the food I carried. Something else. Something sour. Human. Sweaty. Then I heard it. A voice. Not hers. A man's voice. Laughing. I took a step into the apartment and turned the corner to our living room. There she was, Maya. Hair messy, cheeks flushed, her tank top pulled halfway up. On top of a man wearing navy blue coveralls with reflective tape down the legs. His name patch read Ernie. His boots were by the couch, caked in dried mud. There was a neon green trash collection vest tossed over our coffee table. Our coffee table. She saw me. She looked right at me, widened her eyes for maybe a second, then smiled. "Guess your flight got canceled," she said. And then she giggled. He didn't stop touching her. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. My mouth wouldn't work. My legs were locked in place. I felt like I'd stepped out of my body. Everything slowed down. I heard the cheap plastic fork fall out of the takeout bag and hit the floor. She looked back at him and whispered something. He laughed again. Didn't even look at me. Like I was a delivery guy who walked into the wrong unit. I dropped the bag and walked out. In the hallway, I remember pressing my back to the wall, hands shaking, heart thudding. I wasn't angry yet. I was hollow, cold. I didn't call her. Didn't confront her. I went straight to a hotel. Spent the whole night sitting on the edge of the bed staring at the wall. Next morning, I went back to the apartment when I knew she'd be at work. Took only what I needed, laptop, clothes, passport. I didn't touch the bed. I couldn't. When I left, I locked the door behind me. For the last time. But what happened next? That's when it really started. I didn't talk to her for 3 days. No texts. No calls. I needed space to think. To breathe. To not lose my mind. On the 4th day, I broke. I called her. She answered on the first ring like she was expecting me. Well, she said, voice dripping with amusement. Did the hotel bed get too cold? I ignored the jab. My voice cracked when I spoke. We need to talk. Oh, now you want to talk? I went to the apartment that night. She made sure to take her time opening the door. When she finally let me in, she was wearing one of my old hoodies. Her legs bare. Hair wet like she'd just stepped out of the shower. She didn't look nervous. She looked entertained. We sat at the kitchen table. I had all these things I'd practiced saying. All these questions. Why him? Why like that? Why didn't you stop when you saw me? But she beat me to it. So, she said, grinning. You've been sulking in a hotel, trying to figure out if your precious Maya is worth forgiving? I blinked. She was smirking. I thought you'd call sooner. You always do. I asked her why. Why she did it. Why with him? She didn't flinch. You're too trusting, she said, laughing. Honestly, it's cute. Sad, but cute. My throat burned. I asked her if she loved him. She raised an eyebrow. Ernie? God, no. I don't even like him. He just showed up. He listens. Unlike you. I stared at her. I was going to propose this year. She scoffed. That's not my problem. I couldn't stop myself. I said I still loved her. And she laughed. Not a nervous laugh. A cruel, dry one. Like I'd told her a bad joke. Of course you do, she said. You'd love me if I set the place on fire. I asked if she wanted to fix it. If we could try again. If she'd just stop seeing him. Or anyone else. She stood up and walked toward the living room, grabbed a pillow from the couch, tossed it at me. You can sleep here tonight if you want, she said over her shoulder. I've got plans. I didn't sleep. Just laid there, eyes open, while she texted someone in the bedroom and laughed until 3 a.m. Next morning, I was gone before she woke up. I still had feelings for her. I hated myself for that. But that night, that humiliation lit a fuse inside me. I was weak, but I wasn't going to stay that way. I wasn't eating, wasn't sleeping. just walking around with her laugh stuck in my head, looping, echoing. The way she smiled when I told her I still loved her, like I was an insect crawling across her shoe. And I hated that part of me still wanted her back. That's when I knew I had to break something inside me before she broke the rest. So I stopped feeling sorry for myself. I started thinking. She was winning because I was stuck in shock. But I wasn't going to let her walk away from this clean. She was going to feel it. Not just once, over and over. I didn't want revenge for the sake of revenge. I wanted her to regret underestimating me. To look back one day and realize she played games with the wrong man. First step, information. I still had access to our shared cloud. She'd never changed her password. I logged in, hands shaking, not sure what I'd find. What I found made my jaw clench so hard I thought I cracked a molar. There were dozens of pictures. Selfies. Bathroom shots. Hotel beds. One photo was of her and him, Ernie, still in that filthy sanitation jumpsuit, lying on our couch, flipping off the camera. My couch. The caption? He cried when he saw us. Per baby. That's when I stopped feeling weak. That's when I got quiet. Dangerous. I opened a new folder on my desktop. Called it Maya's Greatest Hits. I started saving screenshots, text logs, calendar entries. Even her bank transfers. She had a habit of Venmo-ing her friends for rides or drinks with very colorful descriptions. One of them said, "Thanks for covering when I was at Ernie's Dump Palace, LOL." I checked our apartment lease. I was still the only primary tenant. Her name was on nothing. No utilities, no contract. I was the only one with legal authority. That meant she was living there at my mercy. I logged into the management portal. There it was, remove additional occupant. One click, and she'd be out of the system. But that was too easy. I wasn't ready for the big swing yet. I wanted more leverage. So I checked her work login. She'd once used my laptop to schedule client appointments for the salon. Her browser had saved the credentials. Big mistake. Turned out she'd been pocketing cash appointments off the books. Selling product on the side. Using the salon's name, without reporting sales. I took screenshots of her activity times, names, services. And I contacted 2 clients using a burner account pretending to be from the salon's customer service team. Both said the same thing. They paid cash, no receipt, no record. One of them said Maya even offered to do it from her place next time because the salon takes too big a cut. Now I had theft, fraud, and misconduct. This wasn't just emotional betrayal anymore. This was professional suicide waiting to happen. And I had every receipt. I didn't know how I was going to use it yet, but I knew this. She laughed at me when I was broken. Now it was my turn to smile. I waited until a Sunday morning. I knew she'd be asleep. She always stayed up late on weekends now, probably texting him or worse. At 6:07 a.m., I logged into the tenant portal and submitted the form. Remove unauthorized occupant. Tenant no longer resides in unit. I attached a copy of her ID showing her name wasn't on the lease. Then I called the building office and left a voicemail, making it sound routine. She no longer lives here. Please deactivate her access card. It took less than 24 hours. Monday morning, she showed up to the building and couldn't get in. My phone blew up. First, it was a message. "Hey, I think my card's not working. Can you check with the office?" I didn't answer. Then another. "Did you cancel my access? Seriously? What the hell?" Still nothing from me. Finally, a call. I let it ring. Then she left a voicemail, her voice all tight and forced, trying to sound calm. "Okay, I don't know what this is, but if it's some kind of petty tantrum, I need to remind you that I live there too. I have clothes there. Medicine. You can't just..." I listened twice. Then I smiled. Around noon, I called the front desk and confirmed. Her key fob was officially inactive. They wouldn't let her up without my approval. I could imagine her, standing outside in those ridiculous fur slides she always wore, texting furiously while people passed by. She wasn't used to being ignored. But that was just the beginning. That afternoon, I emailed her boss at the salon from a burner Gmail. No threats. No drama. Just 2 attachments, screenshots of her off-the-books appointments, and a list of names and dates with cash payments. Subject line. Thought you should know what one of your stylists is doing under your brand. No signature. No return address. I didn't need credit. I just needed damage. By 3 p.m., she called again. 5 times. Then a text. "You're going to ruin my life over one mistake? Are you serious?" Then she flipped the script. "Okay, let's talk. Please. I'm sorry if I hurt you. You didn't deserve that." I almost fell for it. Almost. But I remembered the couch. The look. The laugh. She didn't care that I was hurt. She cared that she was uncomfortable now. That night, a mutual friend sent me a message. Hey, Maya just got suspended from work. Did something happen? I wrote back. No idea. We're not really talking right now. I kept it clean. No fingerprints. But she knew. She knew it was me. And for the first time since I caught her, I felt something I hadn't in weeks. Power. I thought I was ahead. Thought I had the upper hand. Turns out I barely made my first move, and she already had her next 3 planned. It was Wednesday morning when I heard the knock. Not a light tap. Sharp. Methodical. I opened the door still in sweats, hair a mess. 2 uniformed officers stood there. Robert Hale? Yes. You've been served. One of them handed me a thick envelope. I opened it right there in the hallway, my stomach turning with every word I read. Temporary restraining order. Issued by the county court. Filed by Maya. Allegations. Unlawful eviction. Digital harassment. Retaliatory interference with employment. I laughed. Out loud. This is ridiculous. They didn't laugh. Sir, you need to vacate this residence within the hour. I stood there frozen. But I pay the rent. I'm the tenant. She's not even on the lease. One of the officers gave a small shrug. You'll have your chance to explain at the hearing. Until then, you're legally obligated to comply. I packed in silence. Clothes, toothbrush, charger. Left my own apartment with a backpack and a hollow chest. Kyle didn't ask questions. He just nodded toward the spare key hanging by the door and pointed at the pull-out couch. That night, I scrolled through her social media. There it was, her story. Black background. White letters. Sometimes men get quiet when you stand up to them. That's not guilt. That's shame. Below it, a selfie. Her on a couch I didn't recognize, wrapped in a blanket, looking sad but noble. Probably someone else's apartment. Maybe his. And then came the DMs. Not from her. From people we knew. Hey, man, Maya's saying you hacked her stuff? Just want to make sure you're okay, but this doesn't look good. You still crashing at Kyle's? Thought you'd be back on your feet by now. My boss emailed me too. Let's have a conversation this week. There's been some feedback. She wasn't just trying to ruin my living situation. She was trying to make me radioactive. I checked her salon's page. Her name was gone from the website. But in her Instagram bio, a new line. Taking private clients only. DM for schedule. She'd pivoted. Like losing her job was part of the plan. She made me look like a bitter ex who couldn't handle rejection. And worse, people believed her. I couldn't sleep that night. Not from rage. From helplessness. She'd beaten me to the court system, to public opinion, and even my own narrative. I wasn't just losing. I was being erased. I started with silence. No angry texts. No cryptic posts. No pleas to mutual friends. Let her play the victim online while I built my case offline. My lawyer said it straight. You lost the first battle. Make sure you win the war. I did. Step 1 was taking back the space she thought she owned. I emailed the property management office with documentation of the restraining order, hers against me and mine now being prepared in return. I requested a freeze on all keycards, citing tenant safety concerns, and attached a letter revoking her access. Legally, I still held the lease. She was nothing more than a guest. While she spun her story on social media, I took back the walls around her. Next was the job. I compiled everything. Screenshots from her side business, saved records of under-the-table payments, and confirmation messages from clients. She'd been running a cash operation using the salon's name, their products, and their licensed space without reporting a cent. Then came the insurance forms. She'd filed under a group policy for certified professionals. But I knew she wasn't reporting half her work. I wrote a clean, professional email, included every receipt, sent it to the salon's owner, and copied the company's compliance officer. 2 days later, a mutual friend called me. She's freaking out, he said. They're talking about pulling her license. I didn't say a word, because I wasn't done. Next, I went after her new private clients. She'd moved quickly, created a new scheduling site, started booking outside her apartment under a fake name. But she reused an old payment tag I recognized from our joint account. Rookie move. I booked an appointment under a fake profile. Paid the deposit. Got the address, a small private loft she leased without telling anyone. I called in a favor. My cousin works for the city's commercial inspection team. 2 photos and a quiet heads-up later, the place was flagged for multiple violations, no proper equipment certification, no sanitation logs, and worst of all, offering regulated services without a medical assistance license. I sent the report to the City Licensing Board, the IRS tip line, and the Department of Health all anonymously. This wasn't revenge. This was cleanup. You don't humiliate someone who helped you climb. You don't sleep with a sanitation worker in their home, laugh in their face, and think the world won't correct it. That night, I slept on a friend's couch again. Same pillow. Same stained ceiling. But for the first time in weeks, I closed my eyes and felt peace. The next morning, she messaged me. "What did you do?" Then another. "You need to stop. I'm serious. Please." I didn't reply, because I had only just begun. I thought I had her cornered. Salon suspension. Health department complaints. Revenue stream disrupted. She went silent for 3 days, and I thought maybe, just maybe, she was finished. I underestimated her again. On the 4th day, I got a call from my HR department. "We've received a letter from a former acquaintance of yours. Some serious claims. We're opening an internal review." I knew immediately who it was from. The letter accused me of weaponizing private information from a shared relationship to sabotage someone's career. She included screenshots, out of context, carefully selected, to make me look like an obsessed, vengeful ex. She even mentioned my temporary restraining order. She left out the part where she filed one against me first. And then came the final line of the HR call. "We're not terminating you, Rob, but until the review is closed, we're suspending your access to client files and active projects." Translation? You still have your job, but you're in a glass box now. I hung up, and 5 minutes later, I got an email notification. Subject: Civil Complaint Notification. She filed a formal complaint with the city claiming emotional sabotage, loss of income, and reputational defamation. She wanted money. $10,000 in damages and a cease and desist order. I stared at the screen for a full minute before realizing my hands were shaking. Then came the messages from mutual friends. "Hey, man. Maya told me you leaked stuff to her work in the city? I don't want to get involved, but that's kinda low. She said she begged you to stop, and you wouldn't." That true. She was controlling the story again, and I couldn't defend myself without looking guilty. That night, I went to check on my storage unit, where I'd stashed some of my stuff after getting kicked out of my apartment. Just random items, books, photos, clothes. The lock had been cut. Inside, half my things were gone. Some trashed. Some just missing. The security footage? Deleted. Apparently, a system error. It didn't take a genius to guess who was behind it. I sat in my car and stared at the dash. Everything I'd done to destabilize her, she had now thrown right back at me, and worse, she made me look like the aggressor. She was smart, strategic, unforgiving, and for the first time since this started, I began to wonder if I was in over my head. I stopped fighting loud. No more texts. No more threats. No more anonymous emails. I started watching instead. Listening. Collecting. She wanted to make this a legal war? Fine. I'd fight her legally. The complaint she filed against me, it was shaky. Filled with dramatized language, but almost no verifiable evidence. My lawyer told me the judge might throw it out. But that wasn't enough. I wanted something bigger. And then I found it, buried in an old file I'd forgotten I still had. 2 years ago, when we were still happy, Maya convinced me to help her register an LLC. A beauty brand. A side project she swore she'd one day launch. Home kits, products, maybe even her own salon. Guess whose name was listed as co-founder and managing member? Mine. Guess who paid the registration fees? Also me. Guess who forgot to remove me after the breakup? She did. I pulled the records from the Secretary of State's business site. Still active. Still in both our names. Then I checked the Instagram account she just relaunched. She was advertising her new private luxury service under the exact name of the LLC. That was her mistake. Because legally, it was our brand. But functionally, it was mine. I filed a cease and desist order through my lawyer. Attached the LLC documents. Demanded she stop using the name, the logo, the brand, or anything remotely associated with it. We gave her 3 business days. She ignored it. So we filed a motion to freeze the business account linked to the name. And we sent a formal takedown request to Instagram for trademark violation. By Friday, her business page was offline. Her booking system deactivated. Her payment processor frozen for investigation. She posted a story that night. Some people just can't stand to see you rise. But what came next? That wasn't me. That was the clients. Once her page disappeared, People started asking questions. Publicly. Why did your website go down? I already paid for a full session pack. Where's my refund? You said this was your company. Now you're saying it's not. One woman posted a long thread, said Maya used an expired license to work on her face and left her with a skin reaction. Said she was filing a formal report. It went viral. Her name started trending for the wrong reasons. And just like that, she wasn't an influencer anymore. She was a warning. A girl who flew too high, too fast, on fake credentials, and crashed in public. And the best part? I never touched her. Never threatened her. Never broke a single law. I just took back what was mine. And without it, she had no platform left to stand on. The court date arrived. I showed up in a plain suit. No confidence, just exhaustion. A month ago, I thought I was in control. Now, I was just trying to survive it. She sat across the room like a different person. Professional. Calm. Confident. Like none of this ever touched her. Her lawyer did most of the talking. Said I had systematically dismantled her career. That I used manipulative access to intimate data as a weapon. That I obsessively stalked and retaliated after a consensual breakup. It didn't matter that none of it was true. It mattered that it sounded true. My lawyer did what he could. Show the LLC documents. The lease. The messages she sent mocking me. The social media posts. But the judge didn't care. In the eyes of the court, I was a man with a grudge. And she was a woman trying to rebuild. By noon, the ruling came down. Restraining order extended for 6 months. Her complaint partially granted. I owed her a fine. $3,500 in economic damages for interference. Nothing criminal, but enough to stain my record. As we walked out of the courtroom, she didn't look at me. Until we hit the steps outside. Then she stopped. Turned. Looked me dead in the eyes. I told you, she said. You're not built for this. And she walked away. That night, I sat alone in Kyle's basement again. No money. No job access. Reputation hanging by threads. She won. She beat me. She buried me. But then, at 2:14 a.m., my phone buzzed. Blocked number. I let it go to voicemail. Then I played it. It wasn't her voice. It was a man. He was laughing. Then came the words. Hope it was worth it, princess. You're next. He hung up. I played it again. That voice. I knew it. Ernie. And suddenly, everything changed. Because now I had something I never had before. A real threat. And if I could prove she wasn't just cheating with him, but covering for him, maybe even helping him in something illegal, then her little empire wasn't just unstable. It was collapsing. I opened a folder on my laptop I hadn't touched since this all began. One I made before I even caught her cheating. Inside were files I never used. Screenshots. Messages. Transactions. Photos. Stuff she never knew I had. I leaned back in the chair, eyes fixed on the screen. Because now, I had leverage. And she had no idea. I spent the next 3 days going over everything. The voice message. The files I'd stored months ago. The data she never thought I saved. See, back when things were good, Maya used to borrow my laptop. She wasn't tech-savvy. Forgot to log out of everything. That's how I found the emails. Old ones. Hidden under a folder called Receipts. They weren't receipts. They were messages from before we even moved in together. Conversations between her and Ernie. And not just flirty messages. These were exchanges about money. Cash pickups. Transfers. Stolen inventory. One line stood out. He doesn't ask questions, so we're fine. She was talking about me. I dug deeper. 2 years ago, while she worked at the salon, over $8,000 in product went missing. They wrote it off. No charges. No suspects. But now I had names. Timestamps. IP addresses. I sent it all to a private investigator. Paid in cash. No trail. Just one goal. Find out what she and Ernie were really doing. It took a week. He called me one afternoon and said, you were right. He's running product through side jobs. She's linked to 3 addresses. One of them under her sister's name. Fraud. Theft. Tax evasion. He paused. You want to go to the authorities? I didn't answer him right away. That night, I copied the entire file. Emails. Spreadsheets. Witness statements. All in one folder on a flash drive. I mailed it to her salon's corporate office. I mailed another copy to a local IRS office anonymously. But the third copy? That one I kept in my coat pocket. 3 days later, she showed up at Kyle's door. I hadn't seen her in weeks. Not since the courtroom. Her makeup was gone. her hair tied back. No fake voice. No fake smile. Just her. And fear. "I know what you have," she said. Her voice was shaking. I didn't say anything. Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't mean for it to go that far. It was just supposed to be a way to get ahead. She dropped to her knees right there on the porch. "I'll lose everything. Please, don't do this. Please." She started crying so hard I thought she might collapse. For the first time since she cheated on me, since she laughed in my face, since she turned me into a villain in my own story, she looked sorry. Not like someone who got caught, but like someone who finally understood what she did to me. I sat down across from her, pulled the flash drive out of my pocket, held it in my palm. "I was going to ruin you," I said. "For everything. I had it all lined up." She nodded slowly. "I know. And I still can." She looked up at me, eyes raw, throat trembling. "But I won't." She stared at me like she didn't understand. "Why?" she whispered. I didn't answer. I just stood up, walked back inside, and left her there on the porch, crying into her sleeves. That night, I deleted the final copy. Not for her. For me. Because I was finally done needing her to feel what I felt. She'll live with what she did, and I'll live free. The next morning, I woke up lighter. And I asked myself the only question that mattered anymore. What would you have done in my place?